This is another interesting feature that's combining kind of multiple classes together. At Berkeley, the human computer interface class or user interface class talks about lo-fi UI sketches and storyboards, and they're going to be useful here. So software as a service applications pretty typically face users, so you need a user interface, right? And so not only do you need a user interface, your user stories probably need a user interface. So when people first started doing that, not surprisingly, computer people, okay, let's mock up a user interface. And they would build something code and show it to people that the programmers really liked. They thought it was really great. And they'd show it to the customers. And so what would happen is the customers would either be intimidated because it already works and they would feel like they couldn't change it, or they would hate it and the programmers would have to start it over again. So that didn't work very well. So what we wanted instead is some way that involve the stakeholders like we're doing continuous with Agile, but do it for the user interface as well as for the functionality of the code. So what we need is kind of the user interface equivalent of these 3x5 cards. That worked really well, right? People wrote that stuff out. That worked really well. So the solution is kind of like we did, just wrote on the 3x5 cards with pencil and paper. We'll do the drawings with sketches, and we'll see what the lo-fi user interface if we just draw it on the whiteboard or draw it on a piece of paper. So kind of surprisingly, over my career, still, we can't draw on a computer as easily as we can draw on a piece of paper. Wouldn't you think, is that hard a thing to do? But yes, it is. Yes, it is. We can't draw as easily as we can do on a piece of paper. And also, even if we felt comfortable using a computer with some fancy CAD program to let us draw, the non-technical stakeholders aren't going to feel comfortable with that. They'll be intimidated by this technology. That we want them to be engaged. And pencil and paper, it's hard to be intimidated by pencil and paper, right? Your skills, everything you learned about UI, you learned in kindergarten, right? So this is what you would do. You would just create this page. This is supposed to be the web page. It's got the banner Rotten Potatoes. And we just write it out. This took me, I don't know if it took me 60 seconds to write this out, but we're going to have a create new movie and the movie title, rating, release date, and then the description, and then the button here that you're supposed to push if you enter this to save the changes. So we're showing what the lo-fi UI looks like for this functionality we already have. That's pretty much the big idea there. But the problem is that's like a snapshot, right? That's a snapshot of the UI, and computers are pretty interactive. There's usually a sequences of pages going on. So we need something beyond an individual page. What we need is a sequence of pages. And this is, again, from the human-computer interface community. They talk to their colleagues in the movie industry, and the movie industry has storyboards. So if you have seen a movie or you see the makeup of a Pixar film, there'll be kind of a comic book of all the scenes of the movie, and that's how they organize a movie. Well, that seems like a good idea. Let's borrow the idea of storyboards. The difference between storyboards, though, and a storyboard for a movie versus a storyboard for us is we have all these complicated interactions. You're here, and they can go anywhere, right? There's not a path through the movie, a single path through the movie. So what our storyboards will typically look like will be more like this. So here's the Rotten Potatoes homepage, and these green arrows are supposed to show interactions. So in the Rotten Potatoes homepage is when I click on Add a New Movie, that will take me over to this other page. It's got the same banner there, and it's got this thing. So this is the one we had before. This is this new one. And then what happens if I click Save Changes? In this case, it comes and it shows all the information of the movie that's been entered, and then you can click on a button to go back to Rotten Potatoes. So also, it shows that if you click on a particular movie, it'll take you to show you more details here. So this is showing the relationship, just this drawing, which maybe took me, maybe took me 3 minutes to draw this, and with the little arrows and stuff. But that's good enough to work with the non-technical customers to be able to talk about what do we want the things to do. What do you want there? Do you want it to be a button? Do you want it to just to be underlined? Where should it go afterwards? And then you reach this agreement with pencil and paper before you do a lot of work. So it's kind of, it can be tedious to write these all out. You want to do this for all the pages you're going to have. But if that's tedious, wait till you try and produce HTML, right? Maybe we like doing that, but it's a lot It's a lot of work to be able to do that. And the argument here is just like the 3x5 cards are engaging to the non-technical stakeholders. Similarly, the sketches, as they're called, and the storyboards, people like that, right? Oh, we're making a movie. Oh, that's a lot of fun. So once we got agreement on that, what happens next is you do the CSS sheets and the Haml stuff to make it really look great, right? But typically what programmers would do before they started using the lo-fi UI is they'd put all the polish in to impress the customer with their great user interface, and the customers would be unhappy with it, or they would be afraid there'd be something that would make it a much more effective app, but they wouldn't say it because the person put all that work in. So reach agreement, get something that kind of works, it implements it, and then you start worrying about the polish.